Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Andy's on his way, but he's in traffic. So I told him we may be done by the time he gets here. We have two sets of minutes, one for the regular session of June 5th, 2023, and a promotion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second, vote,
Yes.
and one for the special session on June 16th.
I'll make that motion.
Second, vote,
Yes.
yes. Public comment period.
Nothing new from our side.
Okay. Worthington Hills, 5 trees are dying in the front. Because their irrigation system wasn't working and. Well, camera reached out to Matt. I saw the email on that. And July 4th is all good, right?
Everything is phenomenal.
What's on July 4th?
Wait, did we miss something? Something there?
There's something ready and
July 4th should be on July 4th this year.
Wow.
Efcon and Ravello, we just met with their advisory council on, their request about the clock camera. And so they may be approaching the board at some point in July about that. They would require 1 camera, my understanding. But they want to know where the township is. They want to be financial partners with it. So,
Financial partners or
Yeah.
financial donors?
financial donors and partners. What's it?
Clearly.
Oh, you wanted to find that.
I wanted to find donor or
The
partner.
numbers. Yeah, so I'll leave that to them, whenever they come to us sometime in July. So. And the new fire chief of Arlington is
He was
rescheduled.
supposed to be here.
Okay. Zoning. To talk with Keith today. About a property on Oakbourne he's looking at. What about the one on Morbrook? How's that looking? I haven't been over there. Yard
Drove
wise.
by, I thought it was maintained now. I
Okay,
didn't drive by today.
okay.
Did this just a few days ago.
That's not Ian's update, so, we have a resolution requiring insurance companies in certain instances the township is a part of the insurance proceeds payable due to fire loss, replacing and superseding resolution number 077-02. I think we talked about this before. This kind of stemmed from the castle property.
Right.
Yeah. Does the board have any questions about that particular resolution? Seeing none, I look for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second, vote,
Yes.
yes. All right, I have to get to Ian's updates.
From the fire chief.
Ian said that DLC added topsoil and reseeded yards and circle in the green and Greenside Lane with gold flakes. I asked that part on
That's
Monday.
actually what I was gonna say. That's a little scary.
Decker started on concrete spot work repairs today. They're planning to have everything replaced by the end of the week. So it's all been big and things.
I think they got everything torn out today.
Okay.
I went through and it looks like every single curb that was marked is out.
Today. Okay.
Which is a lot.
And Ian reached out to Steve Buskirk and asked him to help get things moving forward on the Iron Core. He emailed DLC today and told them to get our restoration done as soon as possible. I haven't seen a response from DLC yet. So the issue has been between City of Columbus and Sanitary Engineer's Office, but it needed Steve Buskirk at the county engineer to sign off on the permit, which was apparently a holdup. So that got signed. Actually, anyway. And, so I think that is gonna be taken care of ASAP. So if we can get them on the other side,
Mhm.
on the country club side, do whatever they wanna do, but we need to get, you know, the gravel out of the road, the guardrail up and everything kind of
Right.
put back in place on our side. So as soon as I told Ian to keep calling each day, find out where that is, and if it gets stuck with the sanitary engineer's office, let me know. But we need to, that's been a construction zone too long.
So unless I missed it while I was out, has there been any other communication to the residents there to
Yes.
just kind of? Okay,
I've been trying to update them. Unfortunately, our updates have been the same.
sure,
So
but just
that
at
has
least
not-
that we're not
We have.
not communicating.
Correct, we are communicating, but it's unfortunately what we're communicating is
It's
not
not
what they
great.
want to hear, so.
Yeah.
And as a resident, I would want to hear something, some progress, yes,
Mhm.
so. I told Ian to reach out tomorrow to at least let them know as things are progressing, so they understand. And hopefully DLC will be there this week.
Okay, so has Ian been communicating or you are, or?
Ian has,
Ian has.
yeah,
Could you add me to his list to just update, and then I will go over there and talk to the residents as well,
okay.
so they know that they have, you know, everyone's attention. Thank you.
Um. And the road levy status is the same, it's already been issued, reported a lot, and. And yeah, we have been, and we've locked our trustee out. So with that, I'm gonna go back, Chief Zimmerman. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Apologies for being tardy. I didn't realize it was 35 minutes to drive from up where I the.
Your turn.
Your turn. Yes.
There's a few things going on this side of,
Man.
mhm.
Yeah. So I know we've had the pleasure of meeting, but just as a quick introduction, Michelle Elliott is our fiscal officer, Angela English is trustee, Jim Roper, trustee, myself, and I think I know most of these folks, so. I'll leave the floor to you to introduce yourself and tell us what's going on over Upper Island.
Yeah, Chris Zimmer, fire chief since March 11th. 24 years with our own fire, and I'm just excited to be in my new role. I was the assistant fire chief for 4.5 years, and just interested in kind of making the connection with the township and just being available. You know, if you guys have any questions related to our services, and really I stopped by. I don't remember when, months ago now, maybe, but I plan on being here, you know, maybe quarterly or based on my availability. Our city council meetings are on Mondays as well typically, but just wanted to say hi and introduce myself, and here I am. So
We have one request, I usually ask for something after I met somebody 7 times, but since this is, we're number 2 and already asked.
Everyone's speed it up a little bit.
So August, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, August 1st. We have something down at Epcot Ravello.
You're already aware, I think it's
National Night Out.
second, I think it is.
Second,
Yeah, it's my Tuesday night, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, I've already been in conversation with is it Mr. Dillon, I believe,
Mhm.
from Mount County. So we spoke, I think last week or maybe.
Oh, no, it is first, I'm sorry. Tuesday the first, yeah.
And so, yeah, we plan on having representation there.
Okay.
We partnered it, so I've been talking.
and obviously we know is, we always tell Chief Zambito, pending you're not on a run.
Right.
Multi-alarm fire and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
So,
indeed. No, we plan on being there and having a unit there, so I look forward to it.
Okay.
It's exciting for us to be able to engage. I was at a meeting earlier today in Upper Arlington, so same event, same evening, and so we're gonna, everything's gonna split in 2 different directions, but we're happy to participate.
Well, like many of our communities in the township, they are very pro, safety services and first responders. They truly love you all. And I'm told that they probably love fire sometimes even a little bit more, so I do.
Not
No,
there.
no offense.
No, they like us better than that, but you guys are up.
So anything that we can do for you.
No, I'm good. I just, again, just want to be available if you guys have questions and pleasure to be here. So thank you.
And we've been getting reports, regular reports from up Arlington about runs.
And got one. Not actually.
Okay.
How many stations do you got?
We have two.
Two? Is there like a main one?
Yeah, Station 72 on Reed Road, kind of by Hastings Middle School, if you're familiar.
Seems to be like the. Where's the other one?
Station 71 is down on Arlington Avenue, across from Jones Middle School, south of Lane Avenue. Basically between Lane and Fifth on the south end of Arlington.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Took
Absolutely.
you longer to get
Thank
here
you.
than,
I'm here.
Here, yeah.
Thank you.
You stay a while, you made it here.
That's right.
That's all right. It's not gonna be pretty going back
Yeah,
either,
that's
so
right.
you might as well just stay.
Stop and grab something to eat.
Mhm.
You beat the sheriff. Sheriff's officer.
Yeah. So,
Good point, I don't know if he's coming later.
it's probably down in Brown Township or Prairie. Chief, fire and EMS.
Report from Upper Arlington, the month of May, there were 12 calls for service in Perry Township. And there, out of those 12, one was at Epcot.
Do we know the number of runs so far this year?
No, but I can find out, Beth Ann.
Yeah, so Epcon, we've got 12 so far this year, 57 total for Perry.
There you go. Thank you, Chief.
The reason I asked that is when we were including them in the revision of the fire contract, your city manager, we had agreed that data would drive things, because obviously a new community, we had no idea, we couldn't predict. So I would want to kind of keep on top of that.
Indeed.
Chief, I think you're up.
Let's see, Earl Business and Special Events upcoming July 3rd. Greenside Lane, and I don't remember the address, but that's your family. They're holding a appreciation dinner in Float Building, if I'm not mistaken, part of that as well, from 4 to 6, I think. And they submitted a permit and all the departments on that one. Under new business, one of the things we discussed, prior meeting was a cadet program proposal. I asked Lieutenant Forsyth to be here to kind of explain, answer any questions, and kind of go over the logistics and basics of it.
Well, we've had interns come in to the township from Worthington Kilbourne High School and do ride-alongs with the officers. I was able to take the intern out a few times, and her interest was in, she wasn't quite sure. She was interested in police work. She was interested in possibly being a dispatcher. So we made sure that she got to see a little bit of the police side of it. And we also took her to the communication centers, Franklin County, Northwest, and Columbus. So she could see the different setups and if she would be interested in doing something like that. So after that, I got to thinking, if you didn't already know, back in the early 80s, I started at Perry Township as a cadet. We had a cadet program here. We had probably 8 to 10 cadets, and it range was anywhere from 15 to 20 years old. A lot of the cadets that were here when I was here have moved on to law enforcement careers, either here or Powell, Columbus. We had one that is currently in Los Angeles, LAPD. So it's a good experience for youth, and especially in this climate. Right now, police departments are having trouble finding qualified applicants or anybody that's interested in being a police officer. I think that having a program for the youth, whether it be township teams or teams that attend Worthington High School that are interested in law enforcement, to have a program for them. I can share that some of the programs that we did when I was a cadet here, we assisted the other officers on the street. We rode with them. We helped them with reports once we got acclimated. We helped direct traffic. We were at all the 4th of July events in Worthington Hills. Back then, they used to have dunk tanks up there at the school, and they would have one of us get in, or the chief at the time get in and dunk a cop, and the kids just loved it. But they were all part of the
I think we're
activity.
gonna stop right there.
It was a good experience, and I can speak for myself that, 40 years ago when I got started, I never would have dreamt that the ride that I've had with Perry Township. I went on to Columbus for 31 years, and I came back to Perry Township. And there's a lot of the guys that are still employed with other agencies or whatnot, because at the time, Perry's not a big department. But the guys wanted full-time, they would seek and go somewhere else, and I think the cadet program was a foot in the door for them. We did different things. We went as cadets, we were taken down to see the shooting ranges. We went to the morgue, we went to the ERs, we went to the jails. We got to see all that stuff firsthand, and some of the cadets that were in the group, it wasn't their cup of tea, and they eventually left. The ones that came back or replaced or were still there, they thrived. This is what they wanted to do. I knew as soon as I got in a cruiser for the first time, this is what I want to do, and I did everything possible to get to where I'm at. The program, with the way the situation is today, a lot of agencies are struggling to find qualified applicants. This is a grooming tool, so to speak, to where the cadets would come in here. If they liked it and moved on, they could maybe fill in full-time spots down the road where people aren't looking for it, or part-time spots, and be a part of the community. And as they move on and decide what they're going to do, it would open up other opportunities for other youth to come in. They also put on fundraisers. We put on fundraisers back then, where we would have car washes, and people would come in and get car washes, and the money went towards equipment and uniforms for the cadets. As far as the equipment for the cadets, it would be at their expense. The uniforms would be at their expense. The only thing I recommended that the township provide would be less than $100 per cadet, and that would be a ball cap, a badge, and a traffic vest. And all of that stuff there would be labeled cadet. It would be clear on the back. Instead of police, it would say cadet. They wouldn't have any markings, so to speak, other than our patch that says police on it. Everything is clearly marked. They wouldn't be carrying any weapons. They would have like a set of handcuffs, flashlight, and rubber gloves in case they would need them for protection for whatever they might come in contact with. I talked to PAR, which is they're doing our uniforms. We found a uniform for them. It would be a polo shirt, like a light blue polo shirt. And the patch would be like a flex badge that we have, and it would clearly say cadet, and then on the back it would say cadet with their ball cap, blue pants, boots, and then they would have a gun belt. It would be a nylon belt, so where they can put their handcuffs on and their gloves on. And again, all of that stuff would be at their expense, which I think to outfit each one was just under $500. The reason why I suggested that is because if they're buying their own equipment and uniforms, that's an initiative that's showing initiative. It's something they want to do. To whereas if we provided them that equipment and they come in here and it's not what they want or whatever, now we've got uniform parts sitting around, and And it's not of any value to the township to do that. So with them doing that, it shows initiative on their part that maybe they're gonna make a commitment to do this. Ideally, I'd like to see between 5 and 6. When I was here as a cadet, we had about 8 or so. And one of the cadets, the ones that either were the oldest or the most productive, they had a rank of commander. So they were the cadet commander. And that anything, and it was like a chain of command event, anything that they would need or wanted to, they would go to the cadet commander about the problem, and the cadet commander would go to the advisor, which would be the officer in charge of them, and then present it to the chief. There was really never any issues with that. As far as if something would happen to them, I believe Beth has been looking into it under the workers' comp, and we haven't got numbers.
They haven't gotten back to us yet, but it's a minimal cost. It would be similar to our chapel program as far as cost goes to cover cadets.
So there would be, like I said, between 5 and 6, they would have requirements on them. They would have, if it got approved, there would be policies in place, rules, regulations to follow. Strictly, anybody that's under, of course, 18 years old, they wouldn't be permitted to ride past 10 o'clock. We put a requirement of 16 hours a month that they have to do in order to stay in that position. They would come out and again, ride with an officer, assist. It would take it's going to be a learning curve to get them up to speed on stuff, but eventually they would be able to take reports with the officer there, helping him out. They would be able to write traffic tickets, obviously not sign them, but, assist the officer while he's doing other things.
So this is, it's resonating because, my daughter's in nursing school, so it's exactly like nursing. It's like, you do clinicals, they have to buy all their scrubs and everything like that. And I was like remembering when she calls me over, she's like, hey, Dad, my scrubs and stethoscope and everything are gonna be $1,300. I'm like, well, this is the time. Is this what you want to do?
Right.
And it was like sort of that moment, but, she goes in, she has to do her clinical, she's, and every year it ramps up. So I think it's, especially with policing nowadays, I think it's a great thing to do. I think we ought to be like pounding the streets for grants, cause, I would assume that there's gotta be grants out there that, for police departments that are wanting to do this kind of thing. So I'm 100% for it. It's just, iron out the details on everything.
We have, if I can add a couple of things, we kind of have a policy that's not set in stone, but if it's proved, we have a policy as far as, there's certain things which we would share. The cadets can't get out on certain calls. They're not allowed to leave the car. They have to stay in the car. And there's other things, kind of like the cost of the uniform. I agree with the lieutenant. There's got to be a little bit of buy-in. And that's where the car washes or fundraiser they come up with can go to some of that equipment. And, I'm sure this program could evolve down the road into more things. But one of the things we talked about, I think that we should offer is we start with Perry Township. I, can talk to Luke. We can send out an e-blast saying we're offering this program, and then see if there's anybody in Perry Township that wants to do it. If there's not, then we can focus on looking at Worthington, Kilburn, Thomas, Scioto, and Upper Arlington, kind of communities that we work with, and say, we have this program. So.
Yeah, agreed.
I think it's great. Also, I have a couple questions if I may. So my son was, as you well know, was one of our interns.
Yes.
And, went on to get his criminal justice degree and loved the program, almost all of the programs. And I know, George Perrin obviously became an officer, so, I'd hate to see, you're not looking to replace doing interns, right? This is in addition.
No, so.
Because I know the school program is
Yeah.
pretty structured in terms of just a 6
Yeah,
month and.
As far
all of
as the
that.
intern, if, Joanne Student Rouse reaches out, if she has somebody, and I'm good with that. We're basically taking our intern program and make it more formal for people that want to do more.
Right, so
Our last
not a
intern-
replacement in
No.
addition.
It's,
Great.
yeah, it's. an
Because I mean, some of the kids can't,
And some of those people
Necessarily
that were
commit to
still
that.
coming in for intern may decide, hey.
that they want
I
to
wanna
then,
do
right,
this. And that's
right.
kind of what kicked us off. Our intern, she goes, I would like to do this more. And then
Mhm.
that's where he came and said,
Yeah.
why don't we talk about this, you know, and I think we have one other possibility right off the bat of a second intern, or I'm sorry, cadet right off the bat, and so I think we'll have two. And then we'll wait till fall, but we'll send out a couple e-blasts saying that we're doing this and see if there's any interest in our township, and then if not, I said, Lieutenant said he would check with the local schools.
So do we need, like, assuming it was approved, would we need legal to draft a waiver of some sort or a release?
We have
Just to maybe
I
blast
believe that's
it?
already in your Dropbox. I think.
Oh,
all-
maybe I missed
Yeah,
that
I think
page.
the application, the release, because if the ages, they age out at 21. Once they hit 21, can't be a cadet anymore. The earliest they can start is 15.
I saw that, I must have
So,
just missed the release, but I mean, that has our legal approval.
Yeah.
That really,
Yeah,
Beth has been,
yeah,
doing a lot of this stuff.
Gotcha.
yeah,
We've got policy, procedure, guidelines that, you know, we went through and drew up. There's a application, I believe,
Yes.
in there as well. We sat down and said, this is what we need.
Great.
Well, and some different other things, but I believe she sent it, she said it was in everybody's Dropbox.
Yeah.
We're all
yeah, I
having
just must have
copy
missed the
for
release. I read the
Yeah.
rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah, everything should be there. Like I said, the application, the waiver. And then, once, if it's approved, then we do, they'll get a copy if they, once they apply, kind of our policy and, so forth.
So, okay, and then I just have one last question. I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I may. Why, I understand obviously why they can't do anything that a certified police officer can do. So why do they carry handcuffs then?
That's actually more for the officers on the street. If they're in a situation where they need, it's like sometimes you get large individuals that need more than one set of cuffs. Not all officers carry two sets of cuffs. So this way the cadet has the opportunity to hand those cuffs to the officer too.
So if it were approved, would that maybe need to be something that we would then pay for and they return? Like,
What's that, the
just
handcuffs?
issue it out?
Um,
Or,
That's something
I
we
mean,
talked
I
about.
don't know,
We
just
put it
a
this
thought,
way,
just-
we have plenty of handcuffs. So I'm not concerned with if they have to buy those themselves. We have plenty that, you know, and again, there with all the officers, the equipment, some of these cadets would need. I think a lot of us have some of that equipment that we can. say,
I was just thinking if there was a way, I mean, yes, I get the whole idea of a commitment and you're in,
Yeah,
but then also if there's ways to minimize the cost
Well, we were,
for
Yeah.
them.
we were trying to minimize the cost
Yeah.
that the township was paying.
Oh, of course, and I
You know, that's-
love that idea, don't get me wrong, I just mean, in addition,
yeah,
that folks that maybe would be the
We-
best candidates can't.
yeah. When we get to it, we will probably issue the handcuffs because again, we have plenty. So I'm not concerned with, you know, so, and that's what we'll do is look at our equipment to see what we can issue. So,
I'm done.
Mr. Rover?
I think it's a great program, and that's, in my mind, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Mhm.
yeah, thanks, I wanted, this is more of a, the woman, I don't remember her name right now with the Fox.
Oh, yes,
Her sons went through the cadet program here and her oldest son just retired from a police agency in Florida. And her youngest son ended up choosing a different path other than law enforcement, but she said she credits the cadet program here with keeping her boys out of trouble. She said it gave them a path.
it almost did that, except for one night. As
It was back.
if it wasn't for senior time.
There was several
Tag gets a lot of.
agencies that had cadet programs. Perry was one of them. Worthington had cadet program, the county.
I mean, I think it's great, and it's a
Cadet
wonderful
program. Now,
step, just to,
there's nobody that has it.
I mean, I have to tell you, with
Columbus.
Dean just getting his criminal
Columbus is a
justice
lot
degree,
different.
he didn't get to do his
They're
internship
actually
until his
paid.
senior year.
Right.
Like, you don't even get to know, you know, what it is, so, sorry.
I know.
I think it's a great program, and I know I pushed you to go faster and faster, but I think there is that one piece about the insurance, I think that Beth needs to tie up, and I'm gonna consider this kind of a first reading. And maybe we can, the board can look at approving it on the July 5th meeting, if that's okay. We'll iron out just a couple details, you'd have to get uniforms and everything for them anyway,
Right,
so.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be like it gets approved and they're out tomorrow. It's gonna be a process.
Right.
Of getting them in here. There's gonna be some training. I checked with Marcus and some of the other guys that are willing to do some training with these guys before they actually go out. Because we just don't want them to go out blind and God forbid something happen.
yeah.
So,
Would they go
Right.
through some general training such as first aid and
yes.
CPR?
first aid,
Yeah,
CPR.
they'll go
Okay, so-
through, yeah, so when we do our yearly or, I guess, they would go through that with us as well.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's bring it back on the fifth. Let's get a couple more details and, let's see what the board says. I think it's pretty much a go, but.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know the one thing we're waiting for is the workers' comp place. They never got back to us to give us an exact number, so.
We'll push them a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second thing on my list is kind of an update on our wellness. I know we talked at one time about some different programs, but I think that I'll let Sergeant Miller explain, but I think the program we first looked at the very beginning is not what we need. I think that with Sergeant Miller, he's done a great job. And I think we have a good peer support and some other things in place. So with that, I'll let Sergeant Miller kind of update.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first program that we looked at was Corridor 360, and that was for the first read with the officer wellness program. And speaking with Steve Click, who runs wellness for the state of Ohio for law enforcement, I'm sure he does some work with fire. It just doesn't seem like it was a good fit for us because we'd have to we would have to have buy-in from the officers to download an app on their phone that is ran by the township. And we all know in law enforcement, even in fire, to have somebody download, a firefighter or a cop to download something on their phone that is related to work is usually a real big hurdle for us to go. So I've been in contact with Jenny Cochran, some other people that are well within the area of officer wellness and just wellness in general in Central Ohio. And we've been looking into peer support. And we actually had a fatal crash this past month, and it was up Arlington was there. It was in my experience, that's 10 years with Columbus and Bobby, even with his experience, 31 years in Columbus, it was probably one of the most gruesome crashes that I've ever seen, even for me just looking at the videos and some of the details that we were receiving from some of the officers. Our goal is when we're looking at officer wellness is minimizing post-traumatic stress. So we're looking at post-traumatic stress, and it's just part of our job as firefighters and police officers that we're going to be responding to people's worst days. We're responding to trauma, and we want to be able to have some level of support for officers before it develops into a disorder. And when PTS turns into the PTSD, that almost becomes a lifetime of trying to get yourself under control versus the first 24, 48 hours. If we can get peer support and for these officers, it minimizes the probability that they will obtain or develop PTSD. I believe Upper Arlington even reached out to our officers after that crash, just because of how gruesome it was. And we ended up right around the 72-hour mark, which we should do. We'll know more in the future. Try to get in with that first 24, 48 hours is Jenny Cochran from Worthington was able to come over and assist us with peer support. Another goal with the peer support team is I wasn't able to make the training for this month, but I am going to join the peer support team for Central Ohio, which gives us another avenue for our officers and even other jurisdictions to where we can start working together, to where when somebody is involved in trauma at work, that we are able to have a support program for them before it gets to an issue. Some of the statistics I just looked at recently is law enforcement suicides. We had 161 last year. We're already up to 42 this year, and these are just active police officers to where trauma has gotten such burden for them. And these are the type A personalities, let's go get them. And we're seeing more suicides than we are officers that are being shot and killed on duty. Family trauma. Family's another area of trauma. We've had an officer that dealt with family trauma within her family of a suicide. Medical trauma. I mean, if an officer has to deal with illness in a family that could possibly result in death, that's a different form of trauma that we want to ensure that they have the right resources for them before it becomes an issue that they bring to work. Because we want our police officers, we want our firefighters to be the best officers that we could put out on the street. And one of the ways we've done fantastic with medical, and it hasn't been until recent that we've also looked at mental too. If I get the flu, I go to a doctor, I go get treatment for it. And for many years in law enforcement, up until recently, even in just first responders in general, we did not take care of the mental aspect of it. It's only happening within the last few years that we're seeing a proactive response, because when we come to a reactive response, most of the times it's too late. So today I just did advanced CIT for Columbus Police with their department. They brought in former Navy SEAL who was a captain for the Navy SEALs, and some of the statistics that they're bringing out from the military. And they brought even a psychologist that talk about the 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you might have saw 20% of law enforcement officers have PTSD. And the numbers since have gone up to 30%. So I bring 3 officers here. We have 4 officers, 4 people here that are in law enforcement and firefighter. There's probably a pretty significant chance that at least one of us is going to have PTSD. And our goals right now are finding that peer support for our officers. Chaplains is another option for us. Hopefully in the future, I would like to look at holistic. So if it means having an officer once a year, once a quarter, meeting with a psychologist, they don't have to talk about PTSD. They just need to talk. And a lot of times when you have that option for officers where they can go outside of the facility of work, they will open up. And it'll save years and years of trying to undo what PTSD can affect for that officer and even for, like I said, our firefighters too. So I've been working really hard in the program, trying to instill it. We got involved when those officers responded to that crash. Anytime that we've had officers with incidents, lately, we've even had a suicide on Riverside Drive. That was pretty brutal too, to where we talked with the officers there, making sure that they're not having any issues. If they do have issues, let's take care of them now. Let's not wait, because it's when you wait is when we have the problem of the disorder that can also lead to ultimately suicide or even a reduction of how well the officer can perform their job. So, and I'll take any questions with the program.
What's the bridge doing? I mean, I know that they have, the bridge has their bi-yearly, I know they're trying to put more in and it's become
Absolutely.
like bigger, but what, are they doing anything in between those events that we can tap into?
Yes,
That sort of thing. Is that something that, you know, we're looking at?
they do kind of like almost like an alumni, like a refresher.
Yeah,
The issue is here recently, they don't publish or advertise because there's so many people.
yeah,
There's
I mean,
no
I think Nick is, I mean, it's gotten way bigger than what Nick had.
Yeah,
ever
he
envisioned.
never envisioned, and it is now, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if I shared this, I went with Mick not long ago to a OACP conference and spoke on behalf of the bridge. And I believe they're going to start funding some of the bridge as well. With that said, I think that, you know, we start on a path with Portico, and after some long discussions with Sergeant Miller, I don't know that that's our best route.
Yeah.
so we can make sure it's part of the budget moving forward. Yeah, I mean, from personally, I mean, I just think that the work that you've done, the work that you guys are doing is really what we needed to do and not just jump into something.
Agreed.
And, you know, that's where I was at when we were looking at that wellness program. It was like kind of, boom, hey, this is something we want to do, but I think taking the time and the work that you've done, I mean, I'm not against it. It's just, you know, making sure that we're getting into the right thing.
Absolutely.
That is gonna be, you know, as big as return on investment on the officer's mental state. That's the investment that we're doing, so.
And what I have found, in my opinion, and having Chief Zimmer here being on the fire side of it, I think would be a good, another person that can talk on it is the peer support team is fantastic because when we have our officers involved in an incident here, I can get in contact with the peer support team and Upper Arlington Fire, Worthington Fire can have that peer support with those officers because they're more than likely going to open up to somebody like that versus me as their supervisor. And that's what I'm looking for. That's what we're looking for is let's get them to be able to identify what in that particular incident is affecting them. And if we need to get them further treatment, then we will.
If I can add, just thinking ahead also from a budgeting perspective, and not to minimize this at all. Also, one of the things that we're gonna have to consider is how we handle mental health services within our insurance plan. You know, a lot of therapists are no longer accepting insurance. And that can become a challenge for families and, you know, our officers were trying to seek outside of these programs that you're talking about. Just even finding a therapist, it can take 6 months, 8 months to get in. And we may just have to make sure that we have a plan in place as well for our folks overall that allows them either to use their, you know, reimbursement account or something if they have to go outside of network for healthcare. So
Well,
just
that's where
something
I
else to
think
socialize.
we actually had a situation with a resident that husband passed away and couldn't get, to your point, couldn't get in to see a therapist. Assistant Chief Ken Cochran was instrumental in that, and they actually, within a week, got that person
That's
in.
wonderful.
So I know the support is there and the
Yeah.
importance is obviously recognized.
And when you look at first responders that need to see a therapist, there are so many valuable options out there. Columbus has they even build a facility
Yeah.
to where they be like, come in, we want you guys to come in.
There's a lot of,
Is that for their families as well?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
there's a lot of no cost help
Okay.
for mental health.
Okay.
One of the things I would like to see is maybe, you know, the Bridge does a fundraiser every year where we can, you know, go do their golf outing and donate to the cause type thing. There's so many things. One of the things we do have that Officer Forsythe reminded me, we do have a chaplain program. One of the goals is to build that a little better. We have one chaplain who's very active. And I do think there's something to be said when you're in a cruiser, you're riding around with somebody, you tend to have conversation open up. And I have found, especially with our first peer support that we brought in was very successful. It was a very positive response to everybody involved. And also from the other side of the peer support, they felt it was a positive. So I think we're on the right track. I think we just need to build with what we have. So,
And there are counselors that work directly with law enforcement and fire to where if one of our officers would need to seek further treatment, that they would be put in front of the line to where it's not 6 months that we're waiting. This is
Okay,
something
good.
that can get in next weekend. And me personally, I've had to do that before in my career,
Mhm.
and they put me first in line. And they take care of you on a weekly basis. You have to see a counselor every week. So there's a lot of valuable options out there.
so thank you for the support. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Block cameras, I know this has been on the agenda. I was just giving, boy, that's recommending that, probably next month, FCON is coming. To the town to talk about potentially doing a partnership with us. The golfer asked about the definition of
Partner versus donor.
partner versus donor. So and I think it's more on
That's
the
a motto.
donor side, so it made her a little bit happy. So, but I'm gonna leave, I'm not gonna steal their thunder. But I wanted to bring that up as a first reading to kind of give you a heads up. We all have seen about block cameras and I don't want to belabor that. The only other thing that I had, Chief, do we have an update on the body cams? Is everything, batteries good? Things are working out?
We had two cameras that were bad. They have replaced those. They're back in service. And we have ordered the additional body cameras that we talked about last meeting. Not sure when they're being shipped, but everything at this point, as far as batteries, I think Lieutenant Conkle's identified a couple batteries that are still an issue, but the two cameras they took care of immediately. So.
Yeah. Anything for the chief? Okay, obviously our administrator's taking a well-deserved vacation, although I just got a text from her saying something, so she's violated the vacation.
Watching the meeting for fun.
She is.
So, there's no, update on the ODOT 161 corridor study, the Portage project in the water sewer district. We're expecting some paperwork from, John Albers on the July 5th meeting. So that's coming up. I don't think there's any other old business. Am I missing something, Mary? We have a draft of the newsletter coming out.
That's
Is that right?
correct. Yes, I need to finalize some details with Ian to make sure I have, because I believe he's gonna be talking with somebody from the county engineer's office to confirm when the exact dates they'll be repaving Greenside and Circle
Okay.
are, and once those are confirmed, then I will send it to all of you for review, so. we can
And
get
how
that.
long does the board have? Because,
I'm hoping to get it out tomorrow and then by the end of next week.
okay,
That way we can get it out right at the beginning of July.
okay.
And we have trash calendars on order. Hopefully we'll get those in the next 2 weeks.
And how many did we order this year?
750, since it's in a
An
real.
additional, okay.
It's not a handout.
Not a handout.
It's not a handout. You do not toss it out of parade.
No, they're too heavy to be tossed. Right.
Smack.
And then I was in a meeting today with One Ohio, the administrator. He asked me how we were doing. I said, have no clue. So I was like silent on that one. Do we need to do anything? I know we have a very small allocation coming.
It's the opioid thing?
The opioid thing, yeah,
Yeah,
the drug money I go.
yeah. So I sent Andy, did you see that email
I
I sent you
did,
today?
yeah, I'll have it back to you.
Okay, and I want the information.
Okay.
I need.
All right, yeah, we'll get that done.
Okay. Anything else?
Still be our front door. Thank you.
Oh, we don't have the sign out, do we? Or
It's to the fiscal.
request a motion for payroll and disbursements.
I'll make that motion.
Second, vote?
Yes.
Yes. Anything for the good of the order?
Hey, the only thing I need to bring up, we need to set a date to follow up. And I know that we had talked at our last fiscal meeting that we had gotten together about starting that process. But I don't know, did we set a date? Yes.
Yes. No, we have not.
All right, yeah, that would be the only thing. that I think we gotta get on. the
I think
calendar.
what we probably need to do is do a special meeting
Mhm.
Yeah,
on a
I agree.
Friday. Let me just ask you, without looking at dates, and I know the holidays is coming up, that's one thing we gotta get over probably here. Is that 11 o'clock time frame better for people? Or is it early?
It's fine.
It's just about as anything else, it doesn't matter.
I'd almost prefer just to do it over the weekend,
Do it over lunch?
yeah.
You have lunch
And
for
we kind of have a,
It's like 11 to 1 or.
well, it's just easier because I like to get stuff out on Fridays. That takes, lunch breaks and all that kind of stuff, but it's just easier.
Well, is there a
That's
different
fine.
day of the week that works better?
Fridays are the best.
Fridays are the best day,
Okay.
but I just think if we kind of do like a 12 to 1 thing. Our office kind of shuts down when it gets done, just easier.
I'm sorry. you
I'm
got
in the
that.
wrong, yeah, I'm like,
Is that what happened?
You continue to bill.
I'm gonna put that down. I'm gonna tell the governor tomorrow that we're shutting down. So, okay.
You drive yourself, and the mayor can get you.
I'm gonna tell you, fire department never shuts down.
No, 24/7.
Never. How to find
Okay, we'll get something scheduled. So, anything else, Luke? Or,
Oh, nothing over here.
okay,
Make sure-
Mary, did I miss anything?
I think so.
Okay, okay. Okay, I look for a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make the motion.